Well, first of all, I am delighted that we have the opportunity to perform The Christmas Gift by Dr. Slaughter. And this is not a new work. It's a work that's about 40 years old, but it's new for me. I mean, I had never heard it. I had never heard of it. And so I'm delighted to get to know it. And of course, I've done some other pieces of Dr. Slaughter's, and so I've performed them in band settings. I've done several premieres of his. He composed. I think I did the premiere of his Witness to Matters, Human and Divine in 1998 with William Warfield, and that was a wonderful production. And then he wrote a piece, I think, for our 100th anniversary with the symphony orchestra there called Celebrations, I think. That was a very nice piece. And your overture that we won't do because it's not really part of the set that we have for the Christmas opera. Um, it reminds me of some of those other pieces of yours that I know so well, and but anyway, I'm delighted to have the opportunity to do this opera, and I guess I'll start by asking um, uh, what what inspired you to uh, write The Christmas Gift?
I wanted to do something for Christmas, and the story is a story that my mother read to me when I was about 5 or 6 years
Oh,
old. And so I
um,
thought it was nice. And, that
yeah.
to me was an obvious choice. The problem with it was it was very short and there was no dialogue in it. So I had to stretch it out a lot.
Well, I think that the way you have married the English text to the rhythms of the music is quite wonderful. I mean, feels very natural
Mhm.
with the way you've set the rhythms.
Well, for what it's worth, the original Angelo uh, is a guy was written for a guy that was teaching at MC at that time. He was just like the character in the opera. He was off the wall. He talked too much and everything. And the guy that played Manuel was also written for a guy that was teaching at MC, and he was a very quiet, thoughtful guy. So those two people were kind of typed and cast in it.
What were some of your operatic inspirations? Not necessarily the story, but in terms of the way you write for voice and the way you score uh, for the ensemble when voices are involved. What are your main influences as far
Uh,
as that goes?
Samuel Barber, Knoxville, uh, Bohem, uh, you know, uh, uh, all the good stuff. Uh, the, the Hermit, the Hermit's the songs. Uh, there's just so many. But I really love playing opera, and I think when you sit in the pit, if you pay attention to what's going on, you can't help but learn how to do that.
Um, your your melodic writing. Uh, how do you decide what what melodies you're going to use? How do you decide what's melodic and what you think is more rhythmic than melodic? What's your process for writing melody?
I don't really have a process. I just it's more spontaneous if I like it, and if it's not something I've heard before, I write it. I don't have a real organized approach. I do have a pretty good sense, I think, of what's right and what fits and what's wrong. And I think I just write what I think fits at the time, and I try to keep it interesting and try to write something that I think would be appropriate for the words and have a few surprises in it.
Okay. Carol, you have some questions for Dr. Slaughter?
Uh, Could I ask you,
Yes.
would you please call me Jimmy? I just all this doctor stuff. Just no.
Understand. Certainly.
Well, we
Jimmy.
just want to let you know, Jimmy, how much we respected you, Maestro. So, yeah, I can see how Dr. Dean would say Dr. Slaughter too. But for me, it was interesting since Jimmy and I both went to um, USM to Southern, both Mississippians, at least for a part of our lives. Um, both live there now in our retirement. Both have had associations with Mississippi College, and we've even worked together, we found out today, quite a bit. When, as Jimmy said earlier, he would be in the pit of the operas with Mississippi Opera, what it was called then, now Opera Mississippi, when I was singing and directing. So that's why I recognize him. So I'm real excited about getting to work with him on this piece. When I talked to him this morning, uh, we discussed the possibility of at least giving the piece a locale, a time, so that we could kind of nail down some of those details that are artistic. They have to do with props, they have to do with costumes. Those are all things that I have to think about in order to put together a production. And so I told him I had decided that the Mass itself on the Christmas Eve, it was in Spain at the Royal Basilica of San Lorenzo de El Escorial, which was another home of the royal family. I mean, there's been so much strife politically in Spain over the last few centuries that honestly the family had kind of gotten comfortable living outside of Madrid. And so, indeed, they do have their Christmas Mass there, or at least they might have then, when I think it was King Alfonso the 12th or the 13th. So we're using that time. And we have characters that have Spanish names, so that seemed to suit too. Our two little boys that go on the trip to the Christmas Mass are Tomas and Pedro, and so we had those Spanish names, and then our nuns that are getting ready for the event are Angela, Sofia, and Manuela. And so it just seemed to suit it. So I mean, Jimmy said okay, so I'm going with it.
Well, I think it's wonderful that you have put so much thought into this. I mean, the story I don't think mentioned a country at all. The only thing that was Spanish is actually the names, you know?
Right, right, right. Well, I actually did research. Wanted to be sure all the names because I mean Tomasz. It comes from many different countries, and so I wanted to be sure that I got a country that where they were all, from that region or that language. And then I realized that certain places in Spain where they would have winter events or whatnot would not necessarily have snow. And so in the second scene of Jimmy's piece, there's a very serious snowfall that the boys are treading through to get to the basilica to see the mass. And so it just seemed like it needed to be farther north from Brazil. So, I gave it some thought, and
Yeah.
it seems to make sense. It also, for visuals, when I'm producing projections on the screen behind the actors and you see the location there, I'm using the actual altar from that basilica so that we have a visual that works beautifully.
Yeah.
So I hope it's going to do you justice, Jimmy.
Well, I'm sure it will. You know.
Um, the you've written two versions of this opera. You wrote a version for priest, and you wrote another version for nuns. What was your and of course, we're using we're doing the version with the three nuns. Instead of Angelo, it's Angela. Instead of and Sebastian, it's Sophia. And then instead of Manuel, it's Manuela. And so I've been sort of going through the orchestra score, making those changes in pencil for myself. And and as I'm working on it, I'm beginning to discover things about it, as you have said. Like I can see a little bohem in there. I even see one Johnny Skiki moment.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
what I'm talking about.
Well, composers steal a lot, so that's
Oh yeah, there's that one where they're, what is it? I can't remember. They're looking for something, and is there? They're looking for this woman, Mrs. Alessandro. She's not
yeah,
there. No, not
yeah,
there. No, not
yeah,
there. That's very much reminiscent of Johnny Skiki for me,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And it's constructed quite the same way. But why did you write two different versions?
Because of the absence of men.
Yep. That's a good
The
one.
2000, the 2016 production at MC, they didn't have any men.
Mm.
So they said we'd like to do it, but we don't have any men here we don't have enough of them. So we had to change it over. And actually, I didn't rewrite it so much as I just changed some octaves and, did some things. It's not actually a rewrite.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's just some interpolated intervals and things like that
Yeah, yeah,
uh, that uh,
Mhm.
that I've
Oh,
noticed. But what we're having to use, you know, I mean, I guess we could have hired three men, but we chose to hire three women,
it's
and so
fine. Yeah,
we had more. In
yeah.
fact, we had more women audition for us than we did men.
yeah.
So that kind of made that decision for us, and
Well,
and we were able to find people that really fit the roles
yeah,
well. Of course, Pedro and Tomas, as is very common in opera, are being these sort of young boy parts are being played by two young ladies, and we're very excited about that. The soprano Yuiba Shin is from Denham Springs, Louisiana, and the Tomas character is Annalie Quarles, who's a graduate of MC. And speaking of institutions, you were talking about all three of us went to Southern Miss.
yeah,
So there's a,
yeah,
there's a thread there.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
Jimmy, you and I
Yeah.
both graduated from UT Austin.
yeah.
So there's that commonality there.
Yeah.
That's
So,
right.
Carol,
That's right.
after you left Southern, where did you go?
Uh-huh. Well, I went west, southwest even, but a little bit farther north than you guys to Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Oklahoma City University was a small private school that had a conservatory-like atmosphere, and specifically for opera and musical theater. And we did 5 full productions a year with
Oh,
an enormous professional crew. I mean, it was top notch. And many of my colleagues now, professional colleagues, came from that program. So it's not well known, but I was at Wolf Trap from Southern. I auditioned in Hattiesburg, and I auditioned for Wolf Trap Farm Park Opera, which is outside of Washington. It was a brand new farm park for the performing arts, literally the first or second year. And I got it. And I just was delighted. Well, lo and behold, there's all this brilliant talent there from Oklahoma City University, but I mean professionals too. We were the apprentices, the young artists, and so I went there. I went there, but I've enjoyed University of Texas stars too. I've worked with a lot of those folks, and sung in Austin myself, and Texas a lot. Texas really supports opera, so I do love that state. And I lived in Houston for 14 years. So that was an important part of my career as well. So we got Texas and Southern and Mississippi. The three of us, we're just all full of it, aren't we?
Why did you write two different versions?
Because of the absence of men.
Yep, that's a good
The
one.
2000, the 2016 production in MC, they didn't have any men.
Mm,
So they said, we'd like to do it, but we don't have any men here we don't have enough of them. So we had to change it over. And actually, I didn't rewrite it so much as I just changed some octaves and, did some things. It's not actually a rewrite.
mhm.
Yeah, there's just some interpolated intervals and things like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
Mhm.
that I've
Oh,
noticed. But what we're having to use, you know, I mean, I guess we could have hired three men, but we chose to hire three women,
it's
and so
fine. Yeah,
we had more. In fact,
yeah.
we had more women audition for us than we did men.
yeah.
So that kind of made that decision for us, and
Well,
and we were able to find people that really fit the roles
yeah,
well. Of course, Pedro and Tomas, as is very common in opera, are being these sort of young boy parts are being played by two young ladies, and we're very excited about that. The soprano Yuiba Shin is from Denham Springs, Louisiana, and the Tomas character is Annalie Quarles, who is a graduate of MC. And speaking of institutions, you were talking about all three of us went to Southern Miss.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there's a thread there.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
Jimmy, you and I
Yeah.
both graduated from UT Austin.
yeah.
So there's that commonality there. Getting back to the opera, uh, I I would like for you to tell the audience that's listening and watching this uh, what they can expect when they come to see this opera. I mean, you've seen it a number of times over the years, and you've watched different productions of it as they've developed. And I just want you to tell us, what really sticks with you. What what is the audience going to get out of this? What are they going to take home with them?
Well, I hope I think the underlying idea behind it is sacrifice. I think the adults will get that. I don't know if the children will. I think the children seem to be. That's a very difficult question to answer. The opera to me is about sacrifice for others, and
Okay.
I the comedy stuff in it, the priest or the nuns and the bishop and all that, that to me is just some extra that is needed to balance out all the serious
Yeah.
stuff in it. Uh, but I think if there's one underlying thing that I would like the audience to go away with, it's people matter and things don't, you know?
As I was looking at the fourth scene today, by the way, just so the audience knows, the entire opera lasts right about an hour, maybe just a little bit over an hour,
Yeah.
and it's four scenes. The first scene is the home of the two boys. The second scene is the workroom at the church. The third scene is the boys' journey from their home to the church and the things that happen to them on the way. And then the fourth scene is in the church itself. And one of the things that struck me today as I was looking through it was the balance that you achieve between serious moments and comedy, because you have the choir singing at the beginning and everything is really beautiful, that beautiful opening chorale, and then you have the priest and you have the writer giving his gift, but also you have these little moments of comic relief provided by the three priests that you can think of as the Three Stooges in kind of a way. Yeah, just comic relief, serious comic relief, serious comic relief, and so it's a very good balance. It reminds me very much of the way Puccini does those kinds of things,
Oh,
inserting the comic relief along the way.
exactly.
Well, as I as I told Carol earlier today, this was the first time I've ever tried to do anything like that. It's the first time I've tried to do a libretto, uh, and it was a seat of the pants type operation. I mean, what went into my work in that is what I learned sitting in the orchestra pit, you know.
Sure. That's a very valuable place to learn, you know, uh, particularly, as a wind player, you have a little more time to listen to things than string players
Yeah.
do. And I remember you told me one time, I won't name the opera, but I remember a funny Jimmy Slaughter quote. You said that this particular opera was the only opera you'd ever fall asleep during while playing.
I lost. I really. I was sitting there and my clarinet fell out of my hand.
Yeah.
What was it? Which one?
Oh,
Which
you
one was
mentioned the name of the
it?
opera.
Archive. So yeah, some people do go to sleep, but I promise we will do everything in our power to keep people from falling asleep in this one, because Jimmy has a really lovely piece. One thing I did want to say though is that it is based on a story called "Why the Chimes Rang" by Raymond McDonald Alden. So I thought we might want to mention him, and that, which is another way that I got the time of the season of the period in history, because of when he wrote it, which was at the turn of the 20th century, right in there. So that helped me also identify it. But I just thought we'd throw a bone his way just so they'd know what it was about, because Jimmy so eloquently talked about sacrifice, and that was basically why the chimes rang. Maybe I shouldn't tell the answer to that question, but because of the generosity of the king, the writer, the even their gifts, which were really amazing, were not the same as the sacrificial gift by the little boys. Much like the parable of the widow and the widow's mite in the Bible. And so it's just beautiful, and I'm just real excited about our doing it. And I hope everyone that is hearing us will be there. It's not a huge house. We want to fill it up, so we'll have that kind of excitement.
Well, there are two opportunities. One is Saturday. Our first performance is Saturday, December the 12th at 7 o'clock, and the second one is Sunday the no, first one is Friday the 12th. Is that right? Yeah, Friday the 12th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Friday the 12th
December.
of December at 7 o'clock, and the second one is Saturday, December 13th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Both are in the Avon Hall on the Mississippi College campus in Clinton. And so it's a very convenient place to get to. Parking at both of those times should not be a problem at all for the audience members. Um, one of the things that struck me, Jimmy, you talked about sacrifice, and the things that people were giving, were things that were precious to them.
Yeah.
you know, like obviously the king, giving the gift that he gave, it was a very precious thing. But the writer, giving not only that gift, but all the time it took to create that gift, and all the time, that kind of thing. And then let's see, the rich man, giving, whatever he could, but then the kid, of course, what he gave was just beyond anything that they thought they might ever have. And so it's really touching, and I think the music is beautiful, and I think we have a very good cast. I think that our boys are well suited for the roles. I think that the Three Stooges were well suited for their role, the nuns in this case. and
Two
and
jets.
it's
They
interesting.
really are. They're crazy.
These characters like this come in groups of three, the Three Stooges, or like Ping Pang and Pong and Turandot.
Huh.
You have these characters
Yes.
throughout the ages that come in groups of three, and I don't know whether that comic relief comes from the interaction of three characters. It's just interesting to me how that
It
group of
is.
three translates into modern theater, modern movies, and things like that. Carol, from your point
Yeah.
of view, uh, what
Hmm.
what do you want to tell the audience about uh, your approach and what you're doing, and how are you bringing this show to life?
Well, I really do. I don't think I'll be giving away too much. I did ask for Jimmy's permission this morning to do a little trick is the wrong word to use, but a turn of events at the very end of the piece, which I'll share in a second. But one of the things that I want to encourage the people is that obviously it is in English. It's Jimmy's words based on this book, and it's such an intimate setting, and our actors are so they are just so genuine and sincere, even silliness, that the audience will see it really close and personal, and they can be a part of it. Frankly, in the fourth scene, the way Jimmy wrote it, it's almost as if the congregation in the church is the audience,
Yeah.
because the processions are coming, through it, beside it, depending on the theater, and they're participating in the drama themselves. Um, but in the course of the trip that the boys take from their little village, they're walking like 2 hours in the ice and snow to go to this, hoping that they can hear those chimes ring. They run into a woman who is ill and who has fallen by the wayside there on the road, and they stop to help. So it is that sacrificial act, in addition to them giving money that they could not spare that money, but they gave what they had. But they also, poor Pedro gave up the opportunity to be at the cathedral to see this after all the planning that he had done, because he wanted to stay and needed to stay with that lady and take care of her. So that is another sacrifice. But what I asked Jimmy if it was okay was that at the end, part of that miracle is the fact that Pedro really did revive Mrs. Alessandro, and that they did finish the walk and got there by the time, but by the end of the gift giving of the evening, and that her appearance, her presence there was part of that miracle when the chimes rang. And so there's a line that Jimmy wrote where that Pedro and Tomas say, "Wow!" When they see the woman laying by the side of the road, and they say, "Wow, she looks like the Madonna in our chapel in our village." Well,
That was in the
I'm
book.
gonna try. Oh, was
That
it
was
in
in
the
the
book,
book.
Jimmy? I
Yes,
couldn't
yes,
remember.
yes,
I couldn't remember. All
yes.
right, all right. Well, so I thought, why not? Let's see a sign almost like of Mary there at the end in the Alleluia, which is gorgeous that he's written, and just have everyone sing, you know, even Mrs. Alessandro. I didn't ask Jimmy if I could do that, but yeah, can Mrs. Alessandro and Pedro sing at the end?
I'm going to leave that up to y'all. That's
Well, thank you. Is
jump
there,
off.
Jimmy, is there anything else you would like to say to people?
Well, yeah, I'd like to say two things actually. One, I didn't know. Well, three things. I didn't know about the Christmas tree.
Mhm.
I didn't know if that was part of the culture, but I put it in anyway because it's part of our culture. The other
Right, right,
thing
right.
about
Mhm.
the opera, I don't know if I really worried a lot about the timing of the comic relief at the end of it. It some of it seems, upon reflection, some of it seems too compressed, and I don't know that you can do anything about that now. But
Oh, well, we have singers who love their voices so much they're going to really stretch it out.
okay, uh,
Well, and Jimmy, we have a lady playing Angela that is going to try to be like your original Angelo and be
yeah,
kind of wacky.
yeah,
So, she can't help herself but blurt things out
yeah.
like that in the service.
Well, the concept of timing is to me the hardest thing about composing, and I
Mhm.
find that a lot of times I have to go back and stretch things out, and so anyway, that was on my mind. The other thing you asked me, what would I like this opera to be remembered, or what do I hope is the future of it? And this is a pipe dream, I know, but I really would at some point. I probably won't be around, but I would love to see this on Mississippi Public Broadcasting sometime.
Okay.
But that's a that's a real issue because when they did the Festival of Lights at MC, which is about an hour long, uh, the cost of one of those productions was about between 20 and $25,000, and so I don't know if it'll ever happen, but it would be just wonderful if that could happen because I I think I've got enough confidence in the work to think that if it did get out, that people would actually like it. You know.
Well,
Mhm.
there are not very many Christmas operas, or operas that are traditionally done around Christmas. There's, of course, Some All of the Night Visitors and this one and a few others, but there's not a lot of those. And this one, you know, uh, I think that the more people hear it, the more people will like it. And of course, seeing it in person or seeing it on video, film, whatever, and adding that visual element to it is going to really, I think, help people connect with the music. I think your music is very good on its own, but I think it lends itself to stage
Interpreter.
action and will be enhanced. I think the visuals will do nothing but enhance the music. Um,
I hope so.
yes, yes, yes. Well,
Yeah.
all right. So once again, I'll just remind our audience that we're December the 12th. That's a Friday at 7 p.m. at Mississippi College, and then Saturday, December 13th at Mississippi College as well.
This is the Mississippi Opera's 80th anniversary, and it's America's 250th. So, what a wonderful way to celebrate that with a living composer. Jimmy's right there;
Yes,
you can see him, and celebrate that with a living composer who will be at the show, and that's a pretty amazing celebration for our 80th.
absolutely.